Welcome to the Learn to Sew Academy channel. Please remember to subscribe. Thank you.
We're going to be making an off-shoulder dress. This is a very simple dress, just like with all the other off-shoulder tops that we made. It follows about the same process. We're going to be using elastic thread around the off-shoulder neckline. So that's what the difference is going to be in this dress. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is I want to fold this, and as I do this, I'm going to put into consideration what my hip is going to be, because that's the biggest part of the body. I still want, even though this is a free dress, I still want to put that into consideration so that we're not making it too small. So what you want to do in that case is you want to consider what the hip is and to consider how much ease you want to put. You can put anything from 4 inches to 6 inches ease, because this is not going to have a zipper and you want to be able to slip in and out of this easily. This dress I'm making is a style that I have already and I like it so much I wanted to repeat the same style. So it's going to have a high-low bell sleeve, and then it's also going to have some pockets on the side. So what I have done now is I've folded this first into two, like you can see here. So what I'm going to do now is I just want to cut out the length that I need for this dress. The length I'm going to need for this dress is 37 altogether. But then the upper part where I'm going to have the elastic thread, the upper part is going to be about 3 inches. Now this is what the upper part is going to look like right there. So that's where I'm going to have my 3 inches. So I'm going to take off the 3 inches from the length of my dress as I begin to cut this. Now the length I'm going to be measuring on this fabric now will be the 37 less 3, which is 34. And then when I want to cut it, I want to put into consideration the hemming that I'm going to have at the bottom of the dress. I'm going to have 1 inch to hem the bottom, and I'm going to have half an inch to join it to the upper part of the dress. So that's 1.5 inches in addition. So what I'm going to be cutting out now is going to be 35.5. So the first thing I want to do is to measure that 35.5. All across this fabric. When I folded this, I've already put into consideration the measurement of the biggest part of the body plus the ease. So it's going to be different for each person. So I did 27 and I folded into 2, so altogether I have 54. So again, it depends on each individual what you want your ease to be, what your hip is, and what ease you want to have. So I'm just joining the lines. That's all I'm doing right here. And now I'm just gonna cut that portion out from this fabric. Now that I have just the amount of fabric that I need, I'm gonna now fold this over. So as I fold this over now, I have 4 layers of fabric like that. So this is what we start to work on. If you check my other videos of making off-shoulder tops, you will see how we do this. The more you practice, the better you'll be at it. When we start to do an off-shoulder, like I explained in many of my prior videos, which I'm going to be linking to this video too, so check the description or check on the video for the link. Normally what we're doing in an off-shoulder is simply saying we're not going to be having the shoulder area and we're not going to be having a neckline per se. So what I'm going to do now is, normally we cut off the shoulder area that we would normally have added onto here, and we cut off the neckline area. And again, check my first video on doing an off shoulder. You will see my diagram, how I explained this in detail. So what I'm going to be doing now is, normally I want to cut out the armhole, the remaining part of the armhole. Normally my armhole would have started from around the shoulder area, but now because there is no shoulder, so what we're going to be doing now is, I want to cut what is left as my armhole. And in this case, I'm going to take off the 6 inches, and I would normally have done 11. So if I take off the 6 inches, I have 5 left. Plus, I'm going to consider that I'm going to be adding this onto the other portion that is going to wrap around my shoulder area. So I'm going to be leaving an extra half an inch. So right here, I'm going to be doing 11.5 minus 6, that's 5.5. So you can just cut it like that, or you can move down and just look for 5.5, like that. So that is my 5.5. I want the top to have less ease than the bottom, because I want to form a slightly A shape towards the end of the dress. So what I'm going to be doing is, I'm going to be putting bust into consideration. The bust I'll be using here is 46 inches, and we divide that by 4. I'm going to have 11.5. So this is my 11, so I'm just going to add my allowance. You add whatever allowance you've decided. So this is where my allowance is going to be. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm measuring the same thing. So from this point, I'm going to measure 4 inches. You can do between 3 to 4 inches. This is just me wanting to shape out the armhole for this dress, the remaining armhole. So I just want to connect from here to here now. And you can use your free hand, or you can use your curve ruler if you have one. If you don't have one, just use your free hand, it will still work. What I'm just going to do is, from this point now, I'm going to slant it to the hand, because I want to again have a just slight A shape. So I'm just going to slant this all the way to the bottom of the dress. So now I'll cut that out. We completed cutting the main body of the dress. So now we're going to do the sleeve. And to do the sleeve, you want to measure what your armhole is right here. This right here is 8 inches. The way the sleeve is that the top of the sleeve is like a basic sleeve, except that we cut it the way we'll cut a sleeve for an off-shoulder dress. And then the lower part of the sleeve is going to be our high-low circle, which will now give us the belt sleeve. Now for the sleeve, I'm going to be cutting 2 sleeves together. So right here I have 2 folds. This is my complete fold. So I'm going to be measuring from here for my sleeve round. And the length I'm using here, this is a total of 11. I've added my seam allowance to this 11. So if you're using half for your seam allowance, you remember that you need half at the top, half at the bottom, because at the bottom you're going to join this to your circular part of the sleeve. So you need half, or if you're using more than half, you factor that in. The same thing at the top, we're going to be adding the top area to that elastic area that goes around the shoulder. So we need to leave some allowance to join that. So over here, I'm going to be working with 13 inches. When we divide that by 2, that'll give us 6.5. I'm going to add half an inch for my seam allowance. And then what I'm going to do is, just like we did over here, I'm going to measure 4 inches like so, and then I'm going to look at where my 8 inches end. I'm looking at a full length of 10 inches and I'm adding half. So this is actually where my 11 inches is going to end. So my 4 inches is right over here, just like we did with the body of the dress. So now we're going to look for 8 inches from that point. And this 8 inches is to correspond with what we measured over here for the armhole. So that's around this area. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to join that. I'm going to join that to my sleeve round. And we're going to just curve this just like we did. Let me make sure I have the 8 inches again. Okay, it's from here. So I'm just going to curve that, and then I have the shape. So you can check for, although this is slightly different from the way we cut the regular basic sleeve, but if you like to just see how we cut sleeves, you can check my video on that. So this completes the upper part of the sleeve. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to do the lower part of the sleeve, which is the high-low circular sleeve. To cut the high-low sleeve, what we're going to do is, first I'm folding. I fold that into 2 like this. But when I fold, I want to first know my measurement. The shorter part of the high-low sleeve is going to be 11 inches and the longer part is going to be 17. So over here I measured to see if I have more than enough for my 11 inches, because I need more than enough. Now, because this is like our circle sleeve, I'm going to be doing a circumference around here, and the sleeve round where we're going to be joining it, this is where my opening is going to be, where I have this full fold and then I have this 2 individual folds. So this is where my opening is going to be. So this is where I'm going to be measuring for my circumference. Now I'm going to do this a little bit different from the way I've done other videos, so you can check those ones to see the method I use there. So I'm just going to do a different calculation here, just to do a different method, so you can see how to do another method other than the one that we've been doing using the 6.28. So what I'm going to do here now, we know that my sleeve round is 13 inches, but I'm going to be joining my sleeve, the circular sleeve. I'm going to be joining the longer part of the sleeve at the back. So because of that, I need to leave an extra 1 inch. So ½ inch on both sides for the joining will give me 1 inch. So I'm going to leave an extra 1 inch for my longer part of the sleeve. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to divide my extra 1 inch plus 13 inches will give me 14 inches. So if I now divide that 14 inches into 4, which you can simply say 14 divided into 2 gives you 7. When you divide that 7, you get 3.5. So that means what I want around here must be 3.5. So what I'm going to have around here is going to be a 3.5 cuff. From here to here, I'm going to have like a 3.5 cuff. So I'm going to cuff it so that I have 3.5. Now I'm just going to see the distance. This is like 2 and this is 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the 2 all across like that. so that when I cuff it, it's going to be like this. So I'm just explaining that so you know that I'm going to have an additional 2 here. So when I start to fold, like I was mentioning, you want to have enough. So how you calculate that is once you decide what you need here for your circumference, which I've determined to be 2 right here. So I'm going to add the 2 to the 11 inches that I need. So that's going to be 13. And then I'm going to add an allowance of 1 inch. So that's going to be 14. Okay. But by the time I start to do my allowance for the top of the circular sleeve, I'm not going to come down. I'm going to go up here to make my extra 1 inch allowance, an extra half an inch seam allowance. I'm not coming down, because if I come down here, which you will see in my other videos, I explained in my other videos where we did the circular a belt sleeve, I'll link that again in this video. If you come down here and you put your allowance under your actual measurement, by the time you sew it, by the time you cut it, this is going to be bigger than the 14 inches we need. So that's why we have to come up, so that by the time we cut this and you start to sew it, you're going to have the exact that you need. So I'm just using this to explain it. So what I need over here altogether is 14 inches. And I have more than enough, so that's good. So on this side, highest point of the sleeve, I want to make sure I have enough. And that is going to be 17. 17 plus this 2, that will be 19. Plus the one at the bottom, that will give me 20 roughly. So I want to make sure I have a 20 for that. So now I'm going to start to measure. Remember we said we're doing 2 from that measurement, that calculation we did quickly. So we're doing 2 inches. So we're doing all the measurement from this tip. So again, I'm doing my 2 inches. Another 2 inches. All across, and this has factored in where I'm going to be joining at the back of the sleeve, which we'll see when we start to sew it. So I just want to make a curve right there, and then I'm going to go half an inch up of that, like I've explained already. So in other words, we are actually having 1.5 inches from the apex here, from the edge here. And when you do this kind of thing, it's better you have it too small than you have it too big, because if it's too small you can still enlarge it, unlike if it's too big. So now I'm going to start measuring for my for the length of the sleeve, and the length I need is 11 inches. I'm going to start measuring from the first mark that we made. This up here is my allowance. So when I start to sew, I'm going to be sewing from the second mark here. So I'm going to start to measure from there. That's 11. Now I need 1 inch for the bottom. So I need to measure 12 inches from there. So that's what I'm measuring now. That's 12 inches. I'm going to go across and do my 12 inches. And again, I'm doing that from this first mark that we made, the 2-inch mark. Alternatively, you can go all the way from the top here. You just add 2 more inches to your 12 inches, which will give you 14 inches. Sometimes that will give you a more accurate curve. So you just come here and you just do 14, because you know this is 2 inches, okay? And you want 12 inches from here, so you can just do 14 from that tip. So once I've done this, I'm going to connect the lines. So normally this is what we would cut for our sleeve if we're just doing a round circular sleeve that is all equal. But because we're doing high-low, I now have to measure for the longer part of the sleeve, which we determined to be 17, and I'm going to add 1 inch at the bottom. Now I know that this is 2-inch gap, so altogether that is 21 inches. So from that tip right there, I'm beginning to measure the 21 inch, and I'm making a mark for that. Now the next thing I need to do is to connect from this, my 21 inch from here, which is the longer one. I want to connect it with what I have here. So I want to connect from this, my full fold. So I want to connect it like that. So you want to make it as curved as you can. Now we're going to cut. When you start to cut, you want to cut first the longer shape. Don't cut the shorter shape, because once you do that, you won't have a high-low sleeve. So you cut the longer shape. Now the next thing you'll do is to cut the shorter one, which is the one on top here. So you're just cutting this fold, this first upper fold. That's the only thing we're cutting now, not the whole thing. Now we're going to cut our sleeve round. And we're cutting where we have measured the seam allowance to be. So this is what we're going to have. So this is our complete sleeve. So we need to make one more of this. So this right here is where we're going to open to rejoin it like that. And if you like, you can cut it ordinarily using your actual 13 inches, the actual sleeve round, so that you don't need to open the back. You can do that too. I've just chosen to open the back because some of my fabric may need to be joined at the back. The remaining fabric may not be enough for me to have a full fold. This is the sleeve. This is the shorter front of the sleeve. This is the longer back. So what you can also do is you can take your fabric. Now that we have this, you can just fold it into two. That's a complete fold. And you can place this on your fabric, trace this out, and trace all the edges out on your fabric and cut it to have this shape, and you'll have two sleeves.